Hello folks, well, I'm going to continue from where I kind of left off with the previous Musical Steps video. That episode dealing with Fate and Ivan Vaughan. So in this particular movie, I want to look more at... It's a bit tricky this, because if I say it's a myth, then clearly I'm going to be jumped upon by a billion people around the globe. But there is this romanticised version that the very first time that McCartney and Lennon met was at St. Peter's Church for the infamous audition, shall we call it, though it wasn't designed to be an audition, it was just going to be Paul turning up to watch his friend Ivan's band that sometimes Ivan played in as a washboard. Is it a washboard? I think... No, sorry, it wasn't washboard, that was Pete Shotton, wasn't it? Ive, the bass player, the tea-chest, I was trying to think of the word, the tea-chest bass, which was an old tea-chest thing that turned up at the docks full of tea at Liverpool, and rather than chuck those boxes away, those tea chests, once they've emptied the tea out of them, people would pinch them or acquire them in some way and stick a broom in it and a length of string, I suppose it was, and then play that at different tensions so that we get a kind of bass sound. Well, that's what Ivan sometimes did in The Quarrymen, but not always. On the infamous occasion where Ivan took Paul over to see John at St. Peter's on the July afternoon, 1958, wasn't it? Was it 57 or 58? I've forgotten myself, to be honest. I should know, I know. Well, when Ivan took him over to see John, that is the official version, shall we say, of where McCartney first met Lennon. However, after much research by a couple of journalists and reporters, one in particular said that in a private conversation with McCartney had said it wasn't the first meeting with John. He had actually met him a couple of weeks before outside a newsagent, which isn't too far away from Lennon's house, but it's sort of closer to McCartney's house, I think it is. I'd have to check that on the map. But shall we say equidistant between McCartney's father's house on Fourth Lynn Road and Lennon's house, or Aunt Mimi's house, on Menlove Avenue? There is another road, sort of on a... Well, you'll see on the video that I've done when I include it in a few moments' time, on a sort of crossroads. There's a group of shops there. Well, apparently McCartney had privately said he had met John a few weeks before, and I think, if memory serves me correctly, Lennon was getting some chips from the chip shop there and going to his mum's house, Julia, on Blomfield Road, which was closer again, so it kind of makes sense that Lennon would have been at that location rather than Menlove Avenue, which was a little bit further away, not too far away, but a little bit further away. So John apparently was buying some chips. McCartney happened to be there, and I can't remember the reason he was there. He might have just have been... Oh, I think it was he doing a paper round. I can't remember. But apparently he bumped into John there. And I don't think it's been disputed that Paul knew John by sight prior to the infamous meeting, or the romanticised version at St. Peter's Church. He did know him by sight, probably because Lennon had such a reputation around that area of Liverpool at the time. Well, possibly because Paul was 18 months or maybe 16 months younger than Lennon at that point. Maybe he was a little bit nervous, but apparently he said a few words to him, and all pleasant, as far as I can see from these investigations. So it kind of makes sense that later, a few weeks later, when the official meeting, the introduction to John, instigated by Ivan at St. Peter's Church, it kind of makes sense then why McCartney wasn't intimidated, or as intimidated as perhaps a young 14, 15-year-old boy would have been, meeting this known, infamous Liverpool rogue, Lennon. Yes, McCartney is also supposed to be quite ambitious, shall we say, let's put it that way, and therefore maybe that played a part in it as well, why he wasn't so nervous. But I think it does kind of make sense that he did, or it's suggested after much research, that McCartney did know John, albeit very slightly or briefly, from a couple of weeks before, a few weeks before. So therefore, when he gets reintroduced to him on that Saturday afternoon in July, he wasn't quite as nervous as perhaps somebody would have been nearly 18 months younger than this infamous rogue Lennon. So that's the background to what I'm suggesting. So let's take a trip over and we'll have a look at the area where the unofficial version of events whereby McCartney first met Lennon actually occurred.